Alright, so the talents I used for this particular Mage Tower challenge were Writhe in Agony, Absolute Corruption, Mortal Coil, Soul Harvest, Burning Rush, Grimoire of Supremacy, and Death's Embrace. Out of all of these, Writhe in Agony, Absolute Corruption are definitely 100% needed. Burning Rush is very, very much recommended. Grimoire of Supremacy is very, very helpful. And Death's Embrace is definitely one that'll help you clear the ads a whole lot faster. I did this with a 915 item level, and my only two legendaries being the Belt and the Pity legendary from the August questline. It's also worth mentioning that I had the full empowered artifact weapon for this particular challenge, but my overall eye level was only 915. Beginning the encounter, you'll want a Flask for Intellect, Eat for Mastery, and use a Defiled Augment rune. I would also suggest pre-creating a health stone and setting down your Demonic Gateway. You'll want to begin this first stage on top of Karam to force him to knock you back and focus your Infernal. This trivializes this entire first phase by allowing you to just sit there and DPS. He is essentially, for all intents and purposes, a DPS dummy during this phase for this. He'll focus entirely on your Infernal and doesn't do enough damage to even really tickle it, so you just want to focus him down. The entire first part of this encounter is based around getting Karam down to 33%. Without the Ring legendary, it's very, very difficult as an Affliction warlock, and that's why I suggest having your Infernal tank. Your Doomguard's Cripple does work on Karam, but unfortunately it acts as it does in PvP and only lasts for like 4 or 5 seconds. You also don't want to get too close to him. If you do get too close, it will automatically proc his knockback / damage ability, and it does hit very, very hard. But once you get him pretty low, he will switch over to Raced, becoming active. You want to go into Raced's phase with at least one Soul Shard. This is to begin kind of the encounter and this first set of ads with the Seed of Corruption on them. These guys move very, very slowly, but you do want a Seed of Corruption them to get Corruption on all of them to make sure that they are just constantly rotting down from that damage. They move very, very slowly, and 3 or so groups spawn initially. They do quite a lot of damage when they do get to you though, so just make sure you are kiting. As you can see, they are very slow and they're very good for generating souls for Deadwind Harvester. But the focus of this primary section is just doing as much damage to Raced as you possibly can while Karam heals himself up with Purgatory. Once Karam becomes active again, Raced once again becomes immune. Phase 3 is where things start to get a little bit trickier. I switched to my Doomguard at this point. This is to make sure I did have Cripple because it is very useful, and to have an Interrupt. You'll want to make a macro to target the Hand from Beyond because it's really hard to see, and I don't know how other people's targeting frames are, but I found it really tricky, so I just made a macro. You'll want to use your Doomguard's Interrupt. I was trying to save it kind of as late into the Grasp from Beyond cast as possible, and if you can afford to, make sure that you're getting at least 1 or 2 agonies onto those because... or Unstable Corruption, or whatever it is, Affliction, Unstable Affliction, I don't know what the Warlock spell's called, I don't play a Warlock very often. Anyway, point is, these Hands from Beyond need to go down as quickly as possible. Once the Hands have gone down though, you can just keep kiting Karam as much as possible. Once he reaches 33%, once again he becomes immune, once again, and you focus again on Raced. You want to make sure that, again, you're dumping as much DPS into him as possible. The Hands, however, during this phase will still continue to spawn, as will the little shadowy ads that follow you around. In addition, there is another mechanic added to this phase. A rune will spawn called the Rune of Summoning. If this isn't stood on and soaked, and I can't confirm that your pet can soak this, until that ball goes away, it actually spawns another ad that makes your life hell. We don't want those ads. One can be dealt with if you're quick enough to banish it constantly, but honestly it's just better off to soak the puddles as best you can. Karam will again become active after his Purgatory spawn or has completed. Hands from Beyond will still be summoned, So everything's kind of a bit of a mess during this phase. You'll want to try and kite toward the back half of the room here, because a lot of the runes, at least in my experience, spawn fairly far away from you, so if you can force them to spawn on the other side of you, that's a lot easier to dodge Karam, because you don't have too many means of slowing him here. Otherwise, don't waste too much DPS on Karam here. You want to focus everything you can on Race. You want to keep Agony up on him. You obviously want to have Corruption up on him because it'll last forever. And you want to do as much ad management as possible. It's worth noting that the Hands from Beyond can also be banished, but I didn't bother messing around with that too much. Try and time your use of your Demonic Gateway cleverly. Don't use it just because you can, because as you see there, it's the only way I was able to put enough distance between myself and Karam in order to soak that one particular rune. If you can do all of this and keep all your dots up, the goal, as I said, of the encounter is to kill Raced, so if you can complete that, you can complete the entire encounter. Hopefully this has helped. If you have any comments or questions, as always, please leave them below. Thank you very much for watching.